Nowadays, I know a lot of you personally, and my report will be dedicated to the open redirect vulnerabilities. It's quite a popular vulnerability. Not everybody even considers it a full-scale vulnerability. So you can easily find me online with a big beer, Nick. I believe we have personally talked to a lot of you online. Anyway, open redirects. According to a WASP classification or description, it's an open redirect, an application that takes a parameter and redirects user to the parameter value without any validation, and basically the end user goes to a certain host. This is kind of a trivial thing that a lot of you saved every day, and there's nothing specifically new here, something sensational, nothing. Redirectors can be either on the client side, for example, via the tags, or based on the JavaScript. It can also be on the server side. 301, 302, 303, 307 server response. So directly this is redirection to a certain end host. Usually the redirectors look like this. They're quite simple. There's a client, it sends a certain package to the server, and that server checks whether yes or no the end server is situated in a sub-network of this of the server. We're talking about the trusted directories here. So there's server 1 and server 2, and they are inside of a single app. And if you have ever read the software about Mail or Yandex, let's look at Yandex because it comes forward. So there's one subdomain of Yandex, there's another subdomain of Yandex, and they're redirecting without any problems. There's nothing bad about that. There's nothing particularly bad about that. The bad thing comes when, as a result, the end host, the user, can give some outside resource, which is not in the network. This leads to the fact that the simplest thing is that it's possible to organize phishing, arrange phishing, some kind of fake support page where it is possible to redirect the user and get his authentication data. It's a popular practice, and generally there's a certain degree of danger here. If you often visit different kind of popular websites, most probably you will get the end page saying that the end link might be not safe and it's recommended to get there. So general websites are trying to survey the security, so usually there are no problems there. However, the redirects are available almost at any website, such as top websites. Here are the logos of those websites, where there are not only these kind of services, but where there's bug bounty open, the software where it's possible to report the vulnerability, get a certain remuneration for that, award for that. So these are the leading companies which are the most interesting to researchers, because of course searching vulnerabilities on their side is not only useful and pleasurable, but also get something back for that. That's good, always good. That's kind of motivating and encouraging. So let's look at these kind of things. From time to time, it's possible to find certain vulnerabilities via bug bounty. For example, Black2Fan found the vulnerability in Yandex that allowed to swap or redirect the user to the end page as a result of not filtering the lower dash sign, did not filter, so you could just create a subdomain with a lower dash and successfully go around the security of Yandex. The other case is when we look at the open redirected Twitter. For example, there were certain problems there with the redirection of the users, and here's a small piece of how one of the pen testers found the way to redirect the user flow around certain protocols. I went further I think that the previous schemes are not so interesting because what can you can only patch? That's quite boring. So let's try something new. That's why I put my work based on search of the chain vulnerabilities. When there are certain number of chains that lead to a huge leak or a huge bug, bigger bug. So in this case, we're looking at the scheme where the client sends a certain package to the server, for example, the server of Yandex. Yandex checks that the end host is inside of the network of Yandex, inside Yandex subnetwork, and the second server will have another redirect that allows redirecting to the open host. So this is kind of a complex chain, and there are a lot of limitations inside of it. However, we should look in practice how that works. So we have Yandex here. At the service of Yandex, there are sort of subdomains where a few of them are responsible for redirecting the user to some random hosts, particularly random hosts. So why is this possible? Because Yandex is a great system, the direct system called the ads. Of course, you can register your own website on Yandex and pay a certain amount of money, and that website will be given to the user in search results. So it's possible to get that link via which this user gets to our website, and this will look kind of like this, like these kind of subdomains of Yandex. There are a lot of them, but these are the most widespread. They can be easily found in Google. So our task now is to find in Yandex the pages, the parameters of which redirect the users to a certain subdomain. I looked through the dork, the Yandex website, the web path. We found a few domains. We saw that certain subdomains are vulnerable. By the way, they're all fixed right now. So there was the mail was vulnerable. Some corporate portal. All in all, there's a number of subdomains that allow to redirect to other subdomains of Yandex. So let's look at the most primitive thing, mail Yandex through the Yandex mail. So there's brief path that redirects us somewhere. So if we give this Yandex mail as a brief path, it's kind of a cycle thing. Cycle attack, you might not even call it an attack. So instead of mail Yandex through, we could go to money Yandex through, direct Yandex through, anything, any subdomain at Yandex through. So as a result, if we were trying to put into this parameter any website that's not directly related to Yandex network, such as Google, there will be no redirection, and the user will get the error and will just return back somewhere to the mail probably, because we're now messing with the mail. So now the most interesting thing, if we put in as vulnerable variable the subdomain, some subdomain of yandex.ru, such as the subdomain related to ads, we can easily go around the security policies of Yandex. What's the problem here? We can easily register a legitimate website in the direct system. It will be a nice website, a shop, for example, can be popular, and there will be no problem in registration. But that host will be fully under our control, can easily swap in some extra redirection to it, to any vulnerable page. It's kind of a stretch. This is a stretch, but this is possible. So if we want to make an attack to the end user, want to attack the end user as a reef path, we send our ad link to the legitimate domain. Inside of that legitimate domain, there's the link to the phishing site, for example. So if somebody addresses us saying, okay, we were hacked, how does that work? Oh, if somebody asks us how's that possible, we just say that somebody hacked us, somebody attacked us. So this is why. So why did Yandex not see the possibility to redirecting to its internal domains? So it was found out. The guy said, okay, we're going to fix it. Today in the morning I saw that, yeah, they really did fix it. There are no problems. So let's continue. Let's look at the second well-known system, mail.ru. Mail.ru has a very rigid scope for what they actually pay. And one of the key subdomains here for which we really care about is the authentication system at mail.ru. So there are also certain redirects here, and they're trusted, they're well tuned up. No, not a problem there. Not a single hinge there. So there's a successful redirection here, there, such as games Mail.ru, kids Mail.ru, no problem. But if some outside resource, everything is blocked immediately, and that works fine. That's why we're gonna play an interesting scenario here when we can, in a few stages, go around that security system. And the most interesting thing here is to collect all the subdomains of Mail.ru and search for redirects inside of them, and just do almost the same scheme as at Yandex. So we're looking at the subdomains, we're looking for redirects and analyze them. We found one of the projects at Odnoklassniki we found. So here we must say the following. At first we didn't pay attention to it because we found it on Odnoklassniki much earlier. We just forgot about the point that Odnoklassniki was at some point bought by Mail.ru, and it's not the part of the Mail.ru network, because that's why I didn't pay attention to it. That's why Mail.ru didn't pay attention to it initially. But this redirect to Odnoklassniki from Mail.ru is the most vulnerable spot of their network. So we found out that there's the alias of the subdomain odnoklassniki.ru, and that's exactly what we're searching for, because there's the redirect, there's the vulnerable redirect there, and there's the Mail.ru zone, so it fits in perfectly. So if we try to get from the authentication system to Odnoklassniki subdomain, we can easily get there, but that's not it. Now we want to see the following kind of attack. The client sends a certain package to auth Mail.ru, and as a set of parameters, there's Odnoklassniki website, and we also have the phishing host as the additional parameter there. So this would be it, but it's not that easy. Turns out that in Odnoklassniki Mail.ru, we see there's their own security system, additional security system, independent from the Mail.ru authentication. So there's this kind of thing there called this trusted redirect. So Odnoklassniki will allow the users to get to the website which are manually checked by the administration, which is hard, which is good for administration, but very bad for pen testers. So you can easily go from Odnoklassniki to Yandex to Mail to Google, but if we get, but we swap it for the some host which we have just created, it will be impossible to redirect to that host because it has not been manually checked and trusted by the administration. So here's what kind of warning we would get if that host was not checked manually by the administration. Kind of the rejection of redirection. I thought that would be interesting. So 2 redirects in a row, that's something. That's why we made a decision to dig deeper here and search for how it actually works. And we decided to phase all of it. And it turned out, interestingly, that the security system does not simply let you access some trusted domains, but also lets you access all the trusted subdomains. So we cannot easily put the Yandex.ru as the target host, but also some non-existing hosts, such as Vasya.yandex.ru or Koля.yandex.ru, anything, and we will easily get redirected there. So this is, of course, the huge gap in the security system. So we decided to first use the existing redirects that we found earlier. So domains to that would redirect to Yandex and Yandex through Yaps Yandex through, and as a result of the useful load as a host, we also communicated the additional phishing host where we want the user to go. So the additional link would look somehow like this. This looks variable, of course, to send something like this, but for a while this worked. And the advantages here are the following: all the email, the incoming mail on the domain from in the domain of mail.ru, usually not suspicious if we drop out this horrible tail. So we're easily going around the expand filter. So it's the link to their own host. So there's no problem for the user. There's no security problem. So you can easily forget about spam here. So how do we get rid of this horrible length of the tail of the link not to reveal ourselves initially? So we get it through the coder, we transform into some kind of entities and get this more handsome but still not so handsome tail. So but this is an option of the attack. So in the end, the final scheme looks like this. It's a long scheme. The client sends a certain query to auth and as a parameter he's being redirected to odnoklassniki.mail.ru, which does not exist as a separate domain, and there's a full redirection with all parameters to ok.ru, odnoklassniki.ru, and then there's redirection and vulnerability to Yandex subdomain from Yandex route to the target host, which can be controlled, and again you get to the next targeted host. So it's a chain of 5 or 6 or 7 chains, which is quite problematic, but nevertheless it works. Well, not right now, but when we published vulnerability, it did work. What else do I want to say here? This kind of network consisting of 7 hosts, actually, there are vulnerabilities that can limit the chain to 4 hosts and go around certain problems. The key problem in this kind of attack that you see is, firstly, that the user must be logged in. That's essential. And after the user has been logged in, there can be this kind of attack. The second problem is that we must register outside in the Yandex direct system. We must go through the check procedure, and that requires certain time and investment. So this is not the most pleasurable thing to do. So these are the 2 problems that we have. The attack that's possible now allows redirecting the user, which is either logged in or not logged in, and go around the problems. So this way we can go around the system without any trusted domains at all, without Yandex, without any systems. This is great, but the guys have not fixed it yet, so that's why I'm not telling too much about it. Another third vendor that we wanted to show, of course, unfortunately we didn't reach an agreement with him. That's why this is it for my presentation today. Here's my Twitter below, and if there are questions, please welcome. No questions at all, really? Great, thanks. Okay, have a good day, everyone.